My master has a job proposal he feels you're most qualified for.
Well, welcome people to this pre-recorded episode of Radio Retrofuture, and today I have 3 guests with me to tell us something about their upcoming steampunk project that's inspired by Star Wars, or should I say a Star Wars project inspired by steampunk. Anyway, gentlemen, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Corey Matt Burnett. I'm the director and everything else.
I'm Brian Roberts, the director of photography.
And I'm John Strangeway. I play the lead role and all sorts of other tasks.
It is a very small, group of crew here. So.
Yeah, as well, we'll talk about the crew in just a moment. But could you tell us a little bit about your own backgrounds and what you do besides this project?
Well, me, myself, we could be here all day.
Sum it up.
Sum it up, I'm a musician, playing bands and stuff, also a photographer, also getting to film, but I've been doing mostly music most of my life, so from everything from rock music to hip-hop to film score stuff, so this is just a culmination of everything.
You do photography.
And photography, and so, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
The drawing, the architecture, right?
Well, yeah.
What's your day job?
My day job, I draw buildings for a living, so that's boring. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear all the fancy stuff.
Okay. Well, who knows? How about you, John?
During the day, I just do a simple 9-to-5 office job, but on the weekends, I like to go to conventions throughout the states and dress in different costumes. Started about 7 years ago now, 2009. Jesus. Yeah, and kind of took off from there. So the Steampunk Boba Fett kind of created this weird character on its own, and I mean I do other costuming as well, which I've been trying to get more into over the past couple of years. But yeah, I like dressing up and entertaining people.
Okay, and the final gentleman?
Yeah, so my day gig, I'm a corporate videographer, and I work at a small university. And I started out doing broadcast sports and television, so I've always done video both day and on the weekends.
He's the pro.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
I pretend.
Okay, and how did the project come about? Because you have now 2 fan movies about the Steampunk Boba Fett, and you've got the Trial of the Mask and Vengeance of the Mask, correct?
Right.
And how did the first movie start? That was in 2013, I recall?
Yeah, I was kind of toying with the idea of doing film, and me and John were just kind of going back and forth, and just like, hey, let's just get together and just do like a scene, just like I'm practice doing film. One thing led to another, got more people involved, and I feel like that short film. And then after doing the first one and sitting on it for a few years and much prodding, we got talking to doing a second one, which, I got a lot out of it. But yeah, it just started out as a test, just like, let's just try it and see what happens,
And Brian came in with the sequel to give it a better
yeah,
look.
A little bit more polished. Yeah.
when what was it? They told Tarantino, so you don't know how to do everything. You just got to hire the people who know how to do it. And so that's what I did. I found somebody who knew how to do it.
Yeah. And how many people finally participated in, let's say, the first movie?
First movie we had New Dave, Rachel, and Devin.
And Lee and Tony.
Yeah, Lee and Tony. So only about 5 characters, and the crew was just mostly just me and Bill, who helped me on the first one. So it's a very, very small crew.
Yeah.
And then
Handful of extras. That's about it, really.
Yeah, so this one definitely took it up a notch because we got more characters involved, more crew.
2 filming units.
Yeah, we probably have about a good 50 people involved in this one, compared to maybe like 10 or 15 from before. So, but the good thing is when you do the first one, people want to be a part of it, so it's easier to get people more involved in this one because
they saw the first and they're like, that was really cool. Yeah. How do we be a part of it? I mean, people flew down from all around the country to here in Georgia to be in different scenes. People drove from, across a couple states to be in the scenes. So we really appreciate everybody coming out because it wasn't just, oh yeah, it's a weekend fling, let's just go have fun. No, we really took time and planned everything out this go around.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, we even trained Dave how to do the blue screen work in Germany. He's living over there. So he didn't know how to do any of that. So we even took time out to train him to that so he could send us the footage. So it was definitely a bigger ordeal, in this. But
yeah, we wanted Dave in the film, and he was living in Germany at the time, and we were like, well, we could green screen him in and use that footage.
Yeah, and you're talking about Dave Lee, who was also one of my first guests, if not the first guest I had on the show. Was he playing the Darth Vader character?
Correct. Yeah. Right. He was in the first one, and so we wanted to bring him back for the second. Dave's an awesome guy. The first film, he lives about 11 hours away. He lives about 11 hours north by car, and he drove down for an evening shoot, crashed at my place, got up at like 7 in the morning, and drove back.
Wow.
Yeah, Dave is super. He should be committed though, but we love him.
Okay, and how much time filming do you think you have spent on either film?
How much time? Well,
the first one we did over 6 months.
Yeah.
We did a weekend out of the month, and maybe 1 day of filming. It's about 6 days roughly of filming for the first one.
Yeah. And this one definitely at least twice that.
Yeah.
And we had a lot more spot things like the stormtroopers. They came in from Dragon Con. So me and Brian picked them up, went blue screen at my house, dropped them back off. So like they were the only people on the crew that day. We did a lot of spotty things that got shot at different times. Where the last time it was just like, all right, we got everybody here, let's shoot everything at one time, and so it was a little different schedule, but it worked out better, I think, because we were able to focus on more things at one time.
Well, we had more people to coordinate, so it took us a longer period of time as well to shoot it all.
Yeah, because we started, March of 2015?
Yeah.
When we filmed Jabba's Den?
Well, Jabba's was in June. We started in March.
What was March then?
That's when we started looking at the script.
Okay.
We started doing our pre-production.
So June we started filming, and then the last thing we filmed was the end of December of last year.
So, and then, everybody's convention goers, so we had to work around everybody's convention schedule and work schedule, and then you find one Saturday everybody can do it, you get them all together, and
yeah, coordinating slots was interesting because we had Tony coming down from Ohio, and that weekend Sloss Furnaces is in Birmingham, Alabama, so it's about 2.5 hour drive, and they're only open from 10 to 4, so we were on a really tight schedule for filming, not even a full 8 hours, less than 6, with getting there, getting set, and then packing up with break for lunch.
So we were packing and running at 4 o'clock. They were kicking us out.
And for those who watch the movie, the Sloss Furnace scenes are the ones where the gun battles are at, for the bridge, the open area stuff, so that you can get an idea of what we're talking about.
It used to be an old iron foundry that they've turned into a national park. It is a beautiful backdrop for any steampunk photo shoot or fan film. So, you know, it's nice to have that resource close by, but you are under some tight scheduling with adhering to their rules, because we were renting the space. You know, you just can't go there and film for free. So
Yeah, and there were tourists.
that's the other thing. You have normal people walking around, and they're coming up like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, that's exactly what you're waiting for when you're on the schedule.
Yeah.
And then we have, you know, other people in costume where we got to get everybody dressed. I mean, you know, Ed came down from Chattanooga, which is about a 2-hour ride. He had a full suit, and, you know, his costume looks great. He's just not used to wearing it. So by the time we got him dressed and in place, that took a good chunk of time. Everybody else, you know, getting set up, shooting the backdrop or the B-roll, using the drone.
Yeah, we actually had a drone operator come out for the first time with the camera, which was very cool. Like, it was a whole different experience. You're not just stuck looking eye to eye at somebody. You could actually get aerial views of. You almost felt like real Hollywood there for a second.
Except the metal tunnels play havoc with the radio signals. So trying to fly it in certain areas was a little difficult.
Flying track.
Yeah, well, drones, it's nice that drone technology is getting all the more accessible. Also kind of freaky, but for camera people, it's really great, because in the past they really required all those cranes and stuff to do such things, and now it's just get a drone. And
Drone up, yep.
But how was the project funded?
Me?
Wasn't really.
My job.
We spent more money on pizza than actual like funding.
These two guys basically fed the crew and rented certain spots, but everybody in costume.
Everybody builds their own costume, but most everybody built their own props or donated props.
We built sets. You know, we used spaces that our friends had, or the basement of our friend.
Jabba's was basically a basement. We spent a few months building that out, and he had no problem with it. So he uses it for a photo studio now, which is good, you know.
It's a win-win. The cantina scene was a space that friends of ours,
the studio
that they lease or own.
Yeah, you just took a corner of it and just build it out, and nobody knows that there's a bunch of junk behind you, you know. So that's all what you want to show the viewer.
I think that's like the biggest nice little feather in the cap about both of these films, is that neither of them were funded. We just came together, and everybody donated their time and money, and
make it work.
Nice. Well, let's hope we see more projects like that in the future. But it's quite incredible what people can do with almost no budget these days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the technology has allowed a lot of people to do a lot of, you know, indie short films. I mean, you know, they're making films on iPhones. You know, just here's your phone and a camera, go, and they're able to edit it and make it happen.
I think they're actually doing challenges for students and such things, like, you know, make a movie with your iPhone. I think they actually do that these days. But let's talk about this universe you created for a moment, because it is mostly the Star Wars universe with all the best known characters. Why focus on Boba Fett?
Because we had that costume. I mean, you know, when Corey and I were talking initially about the first one, we were like, well, you've got this, you know, costume, the Steampunk Boba Fett, and you know a fair amount of weirdos in costumes that we should, you know, incorporate. And so I am a huge Star Wars fan. So is Corey. Brian, I don't know where you're in there. So it's an easy world for us to play in, because we know it, because not only are we in love with the movies, but the expanded universe as well, the comics, whatnot, the video games. So I know a couple people that have Star Wars steampunk mashup costumes. I was like, hey, well, let's just go that route. Pretty much, right? I mean,
yeah, and the beauty of this being, it's not as wholly a steampunk aesthetic as some movies probably are, but the beauty of this is kind of like expanded universe in a way. It's like, okay, we're not adhered to the Star Wars canon because we're trying to be like, real, true to life costuming. So we have this new universe. It's almost like the adventures of Steampunk Boba Fett into this world, which the world it is what we had available and made it as, make it as close to steampunk as possible. But we were able to like go beyond that. So we have our main characters who are recognizable steampunk characters, but everybody else, or whoever we want to make it be, because it's our world.
Right.
So, it's almost like our own version of Lucasville.
I mean, Devin's character, Nexus, is his own, design. And so
is Lagrange.
Well, Tony, being in the steampunk world here, if you've seen pictures of Tony, he goes by Captain Anthony Lagrange.
I recognize the name from somewhere. I couldn't picture it right now, but
he's the token black man of steampunk. I like to affectionately refer to him as. I love him to death. He's one of my best friends, and I said I want to get Tony in this. I want him to be involved, and he lives in Ohio, which is about a 10-hour ride. It's not close, and the first time we filmed it. It was actually before DragonCon. It was a week before DragonCon. He had come down, and I said, "Hey, do you want to be in this? You've got your costumes for a con. Come on in." And of course, he's a very, very beautiful man, and I wanted to kill him. So we wrote that. We literally the first film. Every weekend that we shot, we were pretty much writing.
I wrote the script that Friday night and we shot on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I killed the alien first.
It's true.
I broke the side.
Right.
So I went against horror convention and killed the alien first.
Then you killed the black man.
Yeah.
But that makes it all okay then.
It's a sci-fi trope.
Yeah, I know.
We love joking around with it.
And so that's why we let Tony kill Jodocast in the new one. So instead of killing him first, we let him do the killing first.
And I said that to him. I said, I want you to be in the second one. He's like, you killed me already. How am I going to be in the second one? I'm like, aha! It's the beauty of writing. You're a twin out for revenge.
Oh, that was that scene all about. Yeah, I first saw the second one, and then I realized, oh, there's another one, and so it was like, did I miss something about a guy killing his own brother? And it was
I guess the problem with short film is that you don't have enough time to really develop a lot of that. So there's a lot of just kind of up to the viewer to.
It's the viewers, and it's also a little kind of inside nod. I mean, same thing with bringing in the Jodo Koss character. That's for uber Star Wars nerds. So, if they read the Dark Horse comics, there's a one-shot Boba Fett comic called Twin Engines of Destruction, and it features this character Jodo Koss, who's an imposter who looks just like Boba Fett. And he's going around taking his jobs, but he keeps screwing up the jobs, so he's giving Fett's rep a bad rap.
Right.
Fett sets a trap for him and kills him.
Okay.
Well, a friend of ours, Chris, he made this steampunk Jodo Koss costume as, the equivalent in the world to my Fett costume, because it's meant to look like mine. But with two slight variations. The T-visor is actually orange instead of red, and the circular insignia on the chest is different. That's about it. That's the only difference. So, and Chris lived in Birmingham. I said, hey, let's bring Chris in on this, and let's give Tony's character somebody to kill him. And it would be kind of like a swap, so that he gets, Tony's character's supposed to be hunting me down, but he gets mixed up and confuses Jodo Koss for me. So he kills him. And I'm sitting there watching the whole thing the whole time, and then I end up killing Tony. So,
yeah, I was kind of confused about that scene. It was like, wait, what? Why are there all of a sudden? Is there a Boba Fett lookalike and a black guy? And I don't get it. But now I understand.
That kills them all, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing we realized, we are just slaughtering everyone in this movie. We're just
this is a Tarantino Star Wars film.
Yeah. Well, what I kind of noticed that it is a Star Wars universe, very westernish, with the wanted posters and the cowboy look and all that kind of thing. And the first one was kind of like a film noir, and the second one was more like the kill 'em all western. So that was kind of nice. And do you have plans for a third one?
I won't say no.
Let's see.
Maybe in 2 years. After we whittle Corey down some more.
We'll see. I don't know. But I mean, the great thing about these kind of movies, you're talking about there are different variations in the styles. And what's nice about doing these short fan films, or especially for learning how to do, like I play in a band, so you learn cover songs. You learn how to play somebody else's songs, so you learn how to play your instrument. Well, here, we kind of get to play in the Star Wars universe a little bit, but at the same time, we kind of play with different styles of filming, so we get to learn how to do them, especially on a small budget. And the best way to learn filmmaking is just do it that way. And so we're able to add all these different styles in there, but also make them kind of work together and then learn the nuances of them.
I'm glad you picked that up, though. I mean, because the first one is definitely more of a noir style,
Yeah.
and we were going for a more spaghetti western in the second one.
Yeah.
All right.
And the second guy he killed, or third guy he killed, the one in the showdown, that was actually Phil.
With the cyborg guy, yeah.
He's actually the writer of this movie. So we gave him, and is that a character that he does?
Yeah, he made up for...
Yeah, but he does like professional shooting, doesn't he? Doesn't he compete?
I don't know.
I think he competes too with actually doing Western 6-gun shooting. So anyway, so he got to kill the director or the writer too. So
That's how it goes. I mean,
And let's talk about the music for a bit, because the music really stands out for an amateur production. And is this the music from the original films, or is this all self-composed?
it's all self-composed.
except for the...
Yeah,
The devil.
except for the Devil song. All the orchestral music, I wrote it. I gave it the same element, and like this one here, since they have so many different styles, like I knew in the beginning I wanted the Imperial March kind of feel, but I didn't want to use that. Like I tried to keep it very John, the whole John Williams kind of feel, but like in the first movie, like his flying scene, I used this kind of electro beat. I wanted to redo that, but I want to make it a little more upbeat, a little more Blade Runner feeling. I knew that when he got to Jabba's palace, I wanted to give it kind of an Eastern feel to kind of give it that harem. Jabba's got this opium den kind of thing.
Yeah.
So with the shootout, I knew that I wanted, like the first one when they were stalking him, I knew I wanted the big drums. I knew the other shootout, I wanted kind of that Western, kind of a Lone Ranger kind of feel to it. And then, of course, I already had the main melody, which is at the very end of it, the main theme song. And then I just had to tie it all in together with just... the issue with these kind of things, when there's music throughout the whole thing, is because you're filming people in mass. You don't get a lot of sound design when you're shooting it, and you're building things, especially like I built all the 3D stuff. So then I use music to cover up areas that we didn't have a whole lot of, outside sound.
Yeah, that whole first intro, by the way, with the Star Destroyer and X-Wings and TIE Fighters, and effectively the area where Vader's standing in, and even the R2 unit. Corey...
Yeah, I didn't even know how to do that a year ago. I just come out doing no budget. I bought some software and sat there and just kept tinkering with it until that's what I came up with. And so that's a lot of nights sitting at home.
Yeah, well, I talked a little bit about that thing with the guys who are making the Archangel series, and they did a lot of their 3D modeling in free programs like SketchUp. So there are so many alternatives when it comes to programmings like SketchUp that are free, and you can do so much with those. Any other particular skills you needed to learn for this production?
Puppeteering.
Oh yeah, I learned how to be a puppeteer this time. When we had the iBot scene, it was just...
Let me get that.
It was just Brian and John. They were, Brian of course was filming John, and John had to interact with it. And when you have no budget, no crew, yes, I'm director, but I'm also the PA and whatever else. So I was the puppeteer, so I had to learn how to direct, but also interact with John. But we figured it out. We just kind of tweaked it. I figured out my motions. We talked through it, and luckily it was all stuff that we weren't recording sound, so we could talk through the behind the scenes of like what's going on, and we overdubbed the sounds later. So
yeah,
that was kind of fun,
Yeah, and then who
So
did the
Brett-
voice acting? Were those the same people?
All right. Well, I did my own ADR.
Yeah.
Corey added in.
I did Jabba's because I had to try to figure out how to make the sound, and it was just easier for me to just sit at home in my music studio and just keep tinkering it. And I just kind of started playing around with it and learned Huttese. You know, I translated all the lines into Huttese and then just did the dialogue there. But we had David Brown did the Darth Vader.
Who did it in the first one as well.
He also did in the first one. Joe DeCast was your buddy.
Yeah, my buddy Justin Ladd. We were down. He was visiting, and I went over to Corey's, and he's like, "We got to record these lines for Joe DeCast." They're like, "All right, Justin, get in front of the mic."
Yeah, you just have one line. And,
and then we found a British person, because every Star Wars film had a British accent.
yeah, that's one of the people you work with at school. And then
the Major Domo character, who's portrayed in the film by our friend Paige Gardner, who online goes by Costume Art. She does some amazing costumes. She's actually in the film twice. Another little nod to the uber Star Wars fans. The 1978 Christmas special. B. Arthur is a cantina bartender in that.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years ago, there was a steampunk convention in Cincinnati that was themed Star Wars steampunk. And I asked Paige, would you dress like B. Arthur from the 1978 Christmas special? She didn't
That's the
take
movie George Lucas claims does not exist, right?
Exactly, right. That was dug up and put on YouTube, and now everyone can see it.
the character, Akmina.
Yeah, the character's named Akmina, and if you've seen B. Arthur from Golden Girls or any other numerous things she's been in, it's not a flattering question to ask somebody to, hey, we want to dress like B. Arthur, but Paige is a trooper. So she's in the cantina scene wearing that costume, and then in the tunnel leading to Jabba's palace, she's in her one outfit. I forget the name of the character.
Yeah, the one that had all the
Sorry.
mints and whatnot, but she was the major domo, and the voiceover was by a British woman.
Yeah, a British soccer player.
Yeah, and then.
Who else?
Well, Devin's character, you still use the same sound effect?
I recreated it, a new version of it, but it was basically sound effects we used for him. The iBot, I actually used an online voice-to-text translator. So I typed in all the Huttese stuff and had the voice translator do it and made a WAV file of it and then took it into my effects and started tweaking it, pitching it down, that sort of thing. So it was actually purely robotic sound. That way.
Yeah, so the iBot, by the way, our friend Brett King, I asked him, he does a lot of automaton steampunk style creations, and I just messaged him, I said, we need, if we're going to do Jabba's Palace and I'm going into the entrance, we got to have that iBot droid that, sticks out from the door. So I messaged Brett, I said, hey, would you mind making this? And he was like, sure. And I said to Corey, I was like, yeah, we got an iBot droid. He's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I just asked Brett, and he said yes, because he's awesome. So we wanted to make sure we got this in there, and I've actually got to give it back to him when I see him next, so he can show, like, he made something that was in a film.
Well, we kind of touching on when you're talking about doing no-budget filmmaking and stuff. When we first read the script, Phil had him in a Slave One and had all these elaborate kind of things, and so what we had to do is figure out how to take his initial script and adapt it to the things that we had available. We knew that Dan, what's Dan's last name?
Kazakh?
He had a steampunk
Style
speeder, and
it's
so
like
it's
this UFO style speeder that he's driven in the Dragon Con parade over the past at least like 6 years.
And we knew that we blew up the Slave One, so we could actually just make this a continuation, and that's why Vader's in here. Is actually the next day.
It picks up at the end of the first film where we start off.
So then he gets in his speeder and goes off, and of course, since he's already still on our version of Tatooine, Jabba's there and wants to offer him a job. But so we had a speeder, and so we
went up to Dan's house. He lives about 40 minutes north of Atlanta, and
put a big blue screen up there, and
he built a Lazy Susan for this thing. I mean, it's built on top of a golf cart, but the radius of the wings when they come down is about 10 feet across roughly. So
Yeah, it's massive.
it's huge, and he's amazing for building this lazy Susan that we could prop it on and spin it around in front of the blue screen so we get different camera angles.
Yeah.
And we had James come out for that,
Yeah.
and a couple other people to help out for filming.
But yeah, and we had fun throwing paper at John, and we had those big blowers, leaf blowers blowing him so he looks like he's moving, and it was fun. It was a challenge, but it was fun.
And the beautiful, what was that? Was that July?
Yeah, that was July, so it was.
It was warm.
So we got out there like at 6 a.m. right at the crack of dawn, so we get that nice early sun before it got too hot. And you're on a time crunch. You just.
Because once noon hits,
Yeah.
It was bad.
it's getting hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine in those costumes. Before I forget, I also did an interview with Brett King, for those that are interested.
Awesome.
He has some really nice stuff in there. A lot of imagination. There's also a lot of recreation of archaic machines. I think he made a cylinder music player. What's that called again?
Oh,
I don't know.
what do they call that?
Well, it's awesome.
There's a thing on Google I think we can use and look it up one day.
Yeah. Or just watch the video,
Yeah.
So yeah, and well, you also already talked about a lot of the challenges you faced and how you solved them, which is nice. I especially like the idea of the leaf blower.
I mean, it works.
Yeah.
We blew him a couple times.
Yeah.
They for I think one of the Highlander movies, they simply put a camera on a desk chair and then kicked it around to film a lot of the fighting scenes. So
I think my favorite story is them like rigging the batteries to the actors during the sword fight in the water to give sparks off the sword. Imagine.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Look up some of the horror stories of working on Highlander.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I did know it was a very cheap and difficult production process. But yeah, the end result works. It's the best of all the Highlander movies, so...
Highlander movie.
It's
We
really
don't talk
true.
about the others.
Yes. But about the Star Wars universe you created, how does it differ from the original one, except for the Western aesthetic and the style? Are there any other changes you made to that universe?
I mean, we try to keep it. We're like kind of a deserty planet, but not quite Tatooine. So we shot some. I got some footage from stock footage that helped out, and then we also shot some stuff back out. There's a place called Mount Arabia, and it's just a big, huge rock area, and that's where we shot the last movie. And so I was able to, like the shot of him walking out, I was actually able to use footage from it that we didn't use before to kind of keep it in the same context.
Yeah, it's the very beginning of the film.
And also kind of the same thing, like the first one we used the Death Star where Darth Vader was on, and since I was doing the animation now, but we had Darth Vader, I figured I'd put him in the Star Destroyer so that we would have a variation in, because I didn't want to just recreate what we did him before. So then I could give it a different look to it. But as in the actual planet and stuff, I mean, we just try to make him go from a couple different cities. So Sloss is his own city, and where Jabba's at is his own little city. Just like you'd be on, going to Mos Eisley or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we borrowed heavily from like the universe, but we, just draped that kind of aesthetic on top of everything. Whereas, like Jabba's opium den as opposed to his normal, his mansion.
Yeah, we thought it'd be kind of interesting to give him a bunch of slave girls, like instead of just one. Since we didn't have a lot of aliens to choose from, I have a lot of female model friends who.
We got a couple Twi'leks in.
Yeah, but they do a lot of the apocalyptic kind of style, and so a lot of their apocalyptic stuff kind of.
It works.
Yeah, it kind of works a little bit. Not overly steampunk, but it kind of fits in there a little bit. So we were able to pull that into there. And of course, Joe enjoyed being surrounded. Joe was our Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
He enjoyed having his own little slave girl.
Yeah, I
so
can
it's-
imagine. But because you already brought it up, and we're already 50 minutes in, so let's go to the final questions. What do you think the influence of Star Wars is upon steampunk as a whole, apart from the crossplay costumes?
I mean, it's kind of Star Wars has touched every facet of society in some form over the past, almost 40 years now. So, you have, with the expanded universe, you have this kind of open-end source to run around in, which to me, steampunk is that. You aren't limited by anything. You can just go and create your own character, or take an existing character and mod it. It's a big playground to just go and have fun and do your own thing. It's a great look, and I think some of the original movies, the themes in there, I can see steampunk being influenced by, with the futuristic a little bit, but it's also if you look at the original movies, it's futuristic, but it's all worn down.
I wouldn't see it being too far-fetched if they went to a planet in the Star Wars universe and it was this Victorian look with lasers.
I gotta get the comic. They actually just recently did a comic story that Marvel put out, where it's like adventures of Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they crash land on this planet, and there's giant Zeppelin warships and kind of mechs, and it's very has that same style that steampunk has. And I was like, really? So I mean that literally was this past year. It was a short, like, 5-issue run story. But you'll look at it and you'll be like, yep, that's steampunk. Okay.
Well, it's you see this a lot with certain. I think I've seen an episode of the 3D animation series Green Lantern, who actually has a steampunk episode. Very good as a standalone steampunk story, by the way. When you look at it as steampunk, like I do, as cyberpunk in the past, it's perfect. Very well done. But there is also actually a steampunk comic by his last name is Perry. Well, a very hardworking comic book artist. He has his entire new take on the Star Wars universe with. Well,
yeah.
There are characters like R2-D2, but R2-D2 in this case is a very different character and a soldier droid instead. Only, with the Tommy helmet and the mustache.
Steam Wars comic, right?
Maybe it's Steam. Maybe.
I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
Okay. But it's I hear there are a lot of good stories about it. I haven't read it myself yet. But yeah, like you said, it's very good possible to include a steampunk planet in the system, like you said. They already done that. Any other examples that the creators of the newer films are inspired by steampunk or dieselpunk in any way, you think?
In the past 10 years, there's a slew of films that borrow heavily from it that you can see in there. I haven't seen necessarily one thing that's like wholeheartedly a steampunk film. There's some animes like that. Mutant Chronicles is one in my mind that sets out. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen has that take. Wild Wild West, but that's based on the show.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of movies that I feel have come about that drew from the steampunk universe, but I haven't seen one, like I want to say, like within the past 10 years that was like a wholly steampunk storyline. Like the video game, was it 1880?
Yeah, I know which one you mean. Yeah, The Order 18 something.
Yes, like that, but that was video game. So it's really up to other people's interpretations, but yeah, and there's a lot of films that borrow. Even the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr. You can see some elements in there. I think it's a good aesthetic to borrow from. I haven't just really seen one that's made it like and bust out into the mainstream.
Yeah, right. But
So-
they are very important nonetheless. I mean, people do get inspired by them, and I had an interview with the guys who are doing Archangel, who are trying to get it on Netflix, and there is a lot of interest. So maybe that interview is interesting for you to watch one time. But there are people who consider the Star Wars universe to be dieselpunk or steampunk because of, like you said, it's worn down aesthetic. Do you have any comment on that?
I mean, I agree with them.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as seeing it in the dieselpunk style, yeah. There's a lot of instances. I mean, just from any of the Outer Rim planets, it's you're using what you can to survive in a harsh environment. I mean, you even see that in the latest film, The Force Awakens, with Jakku. It's a garbage world that people are just kind of like digging out their own, lifestyle to survive. So yeah, no, I mean, I see it.
I mean, her living in the attic gives it kind of that same kind of feel, I mean, it's not necessarily gears and stuff, but it's still that same kind of living in a very old mechanical space, yeah, well, no, you're more the expert of bonding the two together.
Okay, well, if you have nothing to add to that, I suggest we go to the final word. Do you have any final message or any other matters you want to discuss?
Anything you want to add to it?
In regards to people going out there and trying to do their own fan film, or just cosplay in general?
Whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do.
I mean, really, like, if people want to dress up how they want, I mean, 7 years ago, I wanted to have a Star Wars costume, but I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be unique. And so I saw Steampunk in 2008, and I said, well, I haven't seen a Steampunk Boba Fett. Why not? And, don't be intimidated or have second thoughts. Like, wear what you want to wear. I mean, as long as you're not hurting anyone or blatantly offending everyone, people have rational moments. Sometimes they have irrational moments when it comes to their costume. But, don't worry about what other people are going to think about your costume. If you're happy with it, wear it. And if if somebody gives you constructive criticism on what they think might be an improvement, take it to, with a grain of salt and just be like, that maybe they're right. And if you want to mod it. That's the beauty of, to me, honestly, about the steampunk costuming, is that there's no limit to how many times you can rework it or repurpose it or change it up or do something with it. I mean, that Fett costume has been, certain elements have been changed out or swapped out or redone at least like 5 or 6 times in the past 7 years, So that's my bit of advice to everybody out there.
And I can touch on the film side for anybody's budding filmmakers and wondering about making a film. The main thing is just get in there and doing it. I mean, luckily, this situation, I'm able to write the music. I'm able to do a lot of things. And I was doing the first one, I was able to, ask Brian to get involved with it. And that's the thing, I tell a lot of people are kind of hesitant about doing things because they don't have the access to everything. It's like, just do it, get it done, move on to the next one. And the more you do it, the people realize you're actually doing a project and getting it done, the more people will want to get involved with it. Because now when I post something about doing something, I have people, I want to come help. And then like before, I could ask somebody and they're like, I don't know, that's my Saturday. But now that you're doing things and they see that you're actually finishing a project, good or bad, as long as you're finishing the project, because you'll get better by doing them. And there's so many resources out there, for music and sound and everything. That Just because you can't write it doesn't mean you can't find it. And
use the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we're about to start embarking on like a little challenge of our own. We're doing these like 2-minute, 2-man shorts. And it's just me and him doing the production. We got 2 characters, storylines about two minutes long. And by doing that, we can do so many different varied styles. You can shoot in a day, try it, so it works. And in the future, when these things work, we know what works within our context, and then we can do bigger projects with them. And then other people will say, oh, wow, y'all are putting out all this work. I want to be a part of it.
And just by doing this, I mean, look at the opportunities you've now opened up from meeting everybody involved that might not have happened.
Yeah.
So if you do a third film,
but as you notice, there is no
We're not
comment from
talking.
the,
Yeah. But that's about 2 years in the making, right?
2 years of wearing me down until I
Yeah.
finally say, please leave me alone, I will do it.
see, the second time around, he was like, no, it's not going to happen unless you bring me a script. That was his fault right there.
Yeah.
You don't make it an option. You just have to say no sometimes.
And also about filmmaking, say everything up front and stick to it. And be careful what you say up front, because if you say bring me a script, then you kind of have to go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hold to your word, which Corey does. So.
It's because I'm a good guy. I want to do certain people.
Okay. Well, with that, I suggest we leave it at that for today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was sponsored, and with me were...
Corey Matt Burnett
Brian Roberts.
and John Strangeway. The beautimous John Strangeway.
Yeah.
Well,
These movies were made to feed my ego. That's what they'll tell you.
Much better than Mars. Mars is dry and cold and dark and red, and I prefer green, fresh, sun Earth, actually.
For steampunk, for example, the future is one of the greatest inspirations, as well as Neo-Victoriana and basically everything from the 19th and the 18th century. It's funny how something that hasn't happened yet can inspire such huge and massive creativity.
Get your stuff done. Get your stuff done. They're waiting on you.
make it your way. Damn it, I'm just done for tonight. I'm just done. Okay, good night, everybody. Before I slur anything more, and I just...